Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Hello and welcome to another video from Shoot the Ball. And we're going to dissect today and discuss about the Rodri injury. Obviously, he's reported to be out for the rest of the season. And who can challenge for the Premier League? Is it just going to be Man City and Arsenal, or do Liverpool have a good chance of getting in there and challenging like they did last season? Maybe going a bit further as well, because last season, obviously, we saw that they kind of died off by like March, April. Can they maybe last this whole season? Will they maybe die off faster? Will they even challenge at all? Um, but yeah, look, let's get right through it. But please don't forget to like and subscribe, obviously, and share the video so we can hopefully help the channel grow. Look, I'll start with the Rodri news. It's obviously sad. You don't want to ever see any player injured, like any player, not just like a major player for a club like Man City and someone of Rodri's caliber. But I think it does obviously hit a bit more when it's someone of Rodri's impact. Um, I don't think it's good, obviously, for City, but it's also not good for the Premier League, right? It's not good for the Premier League. One of the reasons that this league is the strongest and probably the best league in the world is because of the quality of stars that are there and the competition. And Rodri is a big reason why City are obviously like one of the best teams in the world. Um, Look, obviously, it now the question is right because I've seen this everywhere on many different channels. With Rodri being out for the whole season, reportedly, is this now an advantage to Arsenal or maybe even Liverpool? Right? Does this tip the scales towards the other teams versus City? And I was on Judge Mo's channel, and you guys can obviously watch the video. Big up to Judge Mo. Um, and for me, right, my answer was I don't think this gives us any advantage. Yeah. Now you might think, yeah, but that's so weird and contradictory given that I just said he's one of the best players in the world and he's obviously a very, very big and important player and played a big part in City's dominance over the last few years. But for me, the one person I fear the most at City, and I feel that person makes the biggest difference, is not Rodri, it's not Haaland, it's not KDB, it's not Foden, it's Pep, right? And as long as they have Pep, I just feel every possible adversity they face, he can figure out a way around it. There is no better team in world football right now, and there's no better manager in world football right now than Pep and Man City that can adapt and accommodate when they have a major injury like they have with Rodri, right? There's no team in the world. Like right now, if Real Madrid lose Vinny Jr., it's big shoes to fill. Like they're gonna struggle to adapt and find a way to replace him. Obviously, you can argue that they've added Mbappe, they can just go back to playing the system of last season. Maybe fair enough. So maybe it was not the best example, but you know what I mean with this, right? I rate Pep as the greatest manager of all time. I know some people will have him in the top two, top three, top five. I think he's the greatest manager of all time for me. Um, and when he's the greatest manager of all time in my books, I rate him so highly that I think an injury like this is something he'll be able to, I don't want to say easily adapt to, but he should be able to adapt to it without much stress and much problem because he's had like bigger players and he's adapted to like certain injuries here and there. Now people will reference that, yeah, last season he missed a couple of games and they didn't win any of those games. In fact, they lost most of them. And what I will say to respond to that is we have seen this season how they've won every single game without him. Now, you might argue that, yeah, it's a small sample size. I mean, some of those games included Ipswich and a very lackluster West Ham. And obviously, yeah, Brentford kind of like hit them early and stuff, but it was Erling Haaland's magic, obviously, that won them the game. But the reality for me is, I think what's actually happened is Pep has adapted, right? I think he saw how much they struggled last season without Rodri in some of those games like Wolves, like Villa, Arsenal, obviously away. And I think what he's done, he's adapted. He's found a system. He's found a way to play without Rodri. I think that's why he was confident to not rush him and not start him in the first 4 or 5 games, in the first, sorry, 4 games that they played in the Premier League, right? Because if he did fear that, yeah, without Rodri, I'm in a very, very bad spot. And if he had that same concern from last season, where they didn't win a single game with Rodri playing, he wouldn't have risked not benching him for the first few games, right? The reason he did it is because I think he's adapted to a style where he can now play without Rodri. That doesn't take anything from Rodri. That doesn't undermine him. That doesn't mean Rodri is not a world class player. He's not one. He is one of the best to ever play in his position. There's no question about that, right? But I think Pep is that good of a manager. He's that much of a genius that he's able to find ways to adapt to these players missing. We thought probably similar things to Aguero, right? When he's probably the best ever striker to play for them. And they figured out a way to adapt without him. They phased them out even before he left, right? Same with David Silva. Same with Company. Same with Sane and Sterling and all these guys, right? Rodri, you can argue, is probably their best ever midfielder, or one of the best. I still think KDB is the greatest ever midfielder. But he's definitely up there along with Yaya Toure, along with David Silva, obviously along with KDB that I just mentioned. But I genuinely believe Pep is that good of a manager that he'll find a way to adapt. So when I say there's no advantage, in my opinion, it's because I'm assuming that they will go and win as many games as they would have won anyways with Rodri, right? Because if Rodri was missing for 1 or 2 games, I think, yes, that would be a struggle, right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they struggle against Newcastle because it's the first game they're playing without him. The first difficult away game. Well, to be fair, they played Chelsea away in the first game, but maybe that's the first game of the season. Like sometimes, like maybe Chelsea was not like fully switched on, and Chelsea could have got something from the game. Like so. Even if they drop points to Newcastle, that wouldn't be the barometer for me. But if they go and drop like 10 points, for example, 10 to 15 points in the next like 7, 8, 9, 10 games, then yes, I would say that clearly is an impact of Rodri's absence. In which case, fair enough. That means Pep didn't find a way to adapt. And in which case, we have to freaking capitalize on that. 100%. And if we don't, and they end up winning the league anyways, despite dropping all these points, then yeah, I'll say, we just screwed up. But if they end the league, if they end the season with 90 plus points anyways, then I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say that even with Rodri's absence, it didn't really impact them as much, right? And that's what I foresee happening because I think Pep is that good of a manager that I think he will figure out a way. Whether it's him getting the best out of Matheus Nunes, whether it's him having Gundogan and Kovacic play together and just maybe like switch every single time and do the defensive work. I don't know what solution he's going to think of. I mean, again, this is why I'm not Pep Guardiola and he's Pep Guardiola. But I genuinely think he's a manager who's that good, he'll find a solution. It's the same thing with Arsenal, by the way. I don't rate Arteta anywhere near Pep. I rate Arteta, I rate him highly. I think he's a very good manager. But he's nowhere near as good as Pep, right? In my opinion. I think Pep is the greatest of all time. And Arteta is still like building his name. But I still expect Arteta to figure out a solution to Odegaard's absence. I think Odegaard, just like Rodri is important to City, Odegaard is extremely important to Arsenal because we don't have anyone who can fill in Odegaard's shoes. For many reasons. One is we don't have a proper playmaker outside Odegaard. So that already makes it a very, very difficult position to back up or to replace. And B, I think the way Odegaard plays his football and the way he dictates play and the way he receives the ball and beats that press and creates chances, he's such a talented footballer. It's very, very difficult to replace him. Very difficult to replace him. Even if we went to the market and we tried to find like a 10 that could play in his place, I don't think we would have found someone of that kind of quality that can fill in the same shoes. And I'm still saying I expect Mikel Arteta to figure out a solution to Odegaard's absence. Whether it's him playing two strikers, playing Havertz behind the striker, whether it's him maybe playing with like 2 8s and a 6. I think if Moreno wasn't injured, he probably would have played Moreno, Rice, and Partey. He would have played 2 8s and a 6. And maybe that was his plan. But obviously, it's unfortunate. Even Moreno got injured and he's also out for like a couple of weeks. But if Moreno does come back and he fits in immediately and he's fit and available to play, I think he might do that for a little while until Odegaard is back, assuming Odegaard is out until end of November or December. Who knows when he'll return. So yeah, for me, I don't think it gives us any sort of advantage because I genuinely don't think there will be a drop-off. Because the way you look at Rodri's absence is not Rodri's absent or Rodri's out for the season. Is it advantage Arsenal? No, there's a middle question, which is Rodri's out for the season. Will there be a drop off? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, then 100%, of course, it's advantage Arsenal. If the answer is no, then it's no advantage Arsenal. Then whatever predictions people had before the season started, if you thought City were the best team in the country, and rightly so, obviously, then that shouldn't change because you're expecting you're expecting there to be no drop off with Rodri's absence, which is what I think will be the case. I still think, however, that's not a cop out. It's not an excuse because I still think, and I said this on Judge Mo's channel, I've said this on Saad's channel, I still think we will win the league. And I'm saying we will win the league. Obviously, like I don't know the future. I think this will you win the league and we will win the league. I think like obviously people do these weird like agenda based conversations. So maybe that's the wrong phrasing because obviously none of us can see the future. The real question should be: do Arsenal have the tools to win the league? Do they have enough firepower to win the league? Do they have enough squad depth to win the league? My answer to all these questions is yes. I think we have enough firepower. I think we have a good squad depth. I think we have a very good starting 11. I think we have a very good manager. I think we have all the tools we need to win the league. Yes. Can we win the league? Obviously, based on the first statement I just made, then yes, of course we can win the league. Will we win the league? The reality is, this is so sad to say because that's how football has become now. We could freaking end on 95 points, and I still cannot guarantee that we will win the league because the reality is, Pep has made this league in such a way where you could be on 95 points and maybe City could be on 96, right? Which is why the least I want from Arsenal, the very minimum is for them to break that 90 points barrier, right? And if we do our job against City at the Emirates, then all we need to do then is to outperform their results in the other games. That's it. Now, if we end up on 94, 95, 96 points and City beat us to the league anyways, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to raise my hands up and say, damn, like this team is just so damn good. Pep is just that good. I cannot blame my team. I cannot get angry at my team because how the hell could we end on 92, 93, 94, 95 points, more than the Invincibles, and not win the league, and I'll be pissed off at my team. That's just unreasonable in my opinion. So I do think we have the squad depth. I do think we have the attack. And I'm gonna pick on the attack thing real quick because I've seen this in many shows and in different spaces and people saying this, that Arsenal's attack is poor, Arsenal's attack is lackluster. Which is, for me, it's absolutely insane to say, right? Because there's no evidence to it. The last two seasons, we have broken our record for most goals scored. We did it back to back. We broke it in 22-23 when we scored 88 goals. We did it again last season when we scored 91 goals. How could this team with this attack that breaks their record for most goals scored in 2 consecutive seasons be poor? And we haven't lost any of the players. They're still here. Jesus is still here. Martinelli's still here. Saka, Havertz, Trossard. None of these guys have gone. The backup we had to Saka was Reece Nelson, and I think the season before that was freaking Marquinhos or whoever it was. And now we have Sterling, who's a much better backup than both of these guys. So you cannot convince me our attack is weaker. Our attack, if anything, in my opinion, is stronger because Saka, with more experience, will get better. Martinelli and Jesus stunk it up last season. And I don't expect both of them to stink it up again this season. I think at least one of them will get like 10 goals in the Premier League. Right? So if one of them improves over last season, and if Havertz, Trossard, and Saka maintain that same form or improve on it, especially Saka and Havertz, I think they can definitely improve on like what they did last season, 100%. Then there's no way people can convince me our attack is weak. Our attack last season had the third most goals in the top 5 leagues. Only Bayern and Man City has scored more goals than us in the top 5 leagues. You cannot come and tell me this attack is weak. It's 100% not weak. Last season, we only scored 9 goals in our first 5 games. This season, we've scored 8, which is only 1 goal less, with way more difficult fixtures. Villa away, a game that we lost last season. Spurs away, a very difficult game every season. And obviously, away to the champions. And we only drew one of them. And we were seconds away from freaking winning and getting 9 out of 9 points in these 3 games. So you cannot convince me our attack is weak because we have 8 goals in 5 games. That makes no sense. Especially when 2 of those games, we had a man sent off. Obviously, for stupid reasons, like I think we definitely can blame Rice. We definitely can blame Trossard. You can also blame the referee for lack of consistency. But regardless, I still think that that they shouldn't have done what they did, Trossard and Rice, and we would have gone on. In my opinion, we would have gone on to win both games. We would have had a perfect record by now, right? So hopefully Arteta is gonna fix that. So yeah, I still think we have a very good chance with or without Rodri. I think we will challenge. I think we will be there till the very last game of the season. Um, and the reason I said before the season started, and I'm still saying now that I think we will win the league, is because we had 4 problem areas from last season, and I think we fixed 3 of them. And as incredible as City are, and as incredible as Pep is, I think they will continue being great. But I think we will have, and I hope I'm right. I think our players and our manager will have slightly more hunger and desire, especially with what happened the last 2 seasons, that we will match City. And the difference maker by the end of the season will be our head to head, which now that we've drawn the first game at the Etihad, I think we definitely can beat them, and hopefully will beat them at the Emirates. In which case, as long as we match their other results, I think we will win the league. So with that being said, I've spoken about City and I said I don't think they'll drop off, even with Rodri gone. I've spoken about Arsenal in length, obviously, and how I think we will compete till the very end, till the very last game of the season. Um, I also want to talk about Liverpool because I don't understand why this team keeps getting constant disrespect every single season. Last season, they missed on Lavia and Caicedo. And people are like, oh, yeah, they didn't get the DM. They're a joke. They wanted these players and they couldn't get them. And I'm thinking, bruh, if they got Caicedo or Lavia, basically, if they got a quality DM, I think they should be favorites for the league. Because I think that was the only thing missing. Because they got Soboslai, who, in my opinion, is a very good 10. McAllister, who's a very good 8. They still have Mohamed Salah, one of the best attackers in the league, right? Jota as a striker, I think he's a fantastic striker. I rate Luis Diaz highly. I think he's a very, very good winger. And then they still have a very, very good back four. Trent, Van Dijk, Konate, Robertson. I know a lot of Liverpool fans have been giving him stick recently, but he's still a decent left back. Even now, I think at his peak, he was one of the best left backs we've ever seen. But obviously now it's probably dipped a little bit, but he's still a very good left back, even now. And then obviously they have the best keeper in the league. I don't understand why these guys keep getting the disrespect they get every single season. I genuinely don't understand. It just baffles me. And yes, they got a new manager in Arne Slot, but I genuinely don't believe that FSG went and got a manager with the mindset of just help us steady the ship and keep us in the top 4. I genuinely don't believe that. I think they've got a manager who they expect can continue what Klopp was doing last season. Klopp was challenging for the league. He won the League Cup. He obviously like was in the title race until like April. And now that he's gone, I don't think they're like, hey, Onslaught, come and take over. But it's okay if you regress a little bit. It's fine. No, they're probably going to like, we did really well last season. You're getting the exact same place. You haven't lost any of your main starters. You won the Dutch league with Feyenoord. Yeah, fair enough. It's the Eredivisie, but you're a manager who knows how to win a league. You're getting way better players than what you had at Feyenoord. We expect you to challenge for the league. I would have, if I was FSG, that would have been my expectation. And given how they've started, yeah, they lost to Nottingham Forest. Very bad result, obviously. At home, shocking result. Shouldn't have happened. And that's why I don't think they'll win the league. Not because of the Nottingham Forest result specifically, because I think, unfortunately for them, they will have more results like that in the season. But I don't think they will have 10 or 15 of those results. I think they'll have 4 or 5 of those shocking defeats or defeats, I'll say, not draws, because I think they'll have draws, obviously. I think they'll have 4 or 5 of these kind of defeats, which will allow them to challenge for the title, but I don't think they'll win it in the end. But I would still never dismiss them. I would never dismiss them. If right now you tell me, if someone comes from the future and tells me by May, Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal are challenging for the league and only 1 or 2 points separate them, I would not be surprised at all. If someone comes from the future and tells me by May, Man City and Arsenal will be 1 point away from each other, my next question will be, what about Liverpool? Are they behind us? Are they ahead of us? What's going on? because they are that good of a team and they have world class players. World class players: Van Dijk, Allison, Trent Alexander Arnold, Mohamed Salah, obviously. And while McAllister might not be world class in many people's books, but I think he's as close to that as anyone else in the world. So they have a fantastic team. I think they will be in the title race at least until March, in my opinion. Um, as I said, I think it'll be similar to last season, just because while I rate them highly and I don't think they get enough respect, I just don't think they have the quality that Arsenal and Man City have um, overall in their, not necessarily in their starting 11, because their starting 11 is good. I don't rate their bench as much. And squad depth, we understand, is very, very important for them to continue. I think squad depth in terms of the attack is quite good. We've always known that about Liverpool the last few years, but I think in midfield and defense, I'm not a big fan of their depth, and because of that, I don't think they will last till the end of the season. However, if they go in January and sign one or two players and strengthen that depth even more, and when I say one or two, I mean one or two like top quality players, not like not like an Endo kind of signing. Even though Endo did well for them last season, but I mean a signing who will like elevate their performances even more, then fair enough. But if that doesn't happen, then I'm not 100% sure they'll be able. I'm not sure they'll win the league. Um, but I definitely think they will be in a title race. I would be more surprised if Liverpool fall off before March. That would surprise me, right? But yeah, like big up to Arne Slot. I think he's come and done a fantastic job. The fact that they've only conceded one goal so far, and that one goal was the game they lost. Every other game they kept a clean sheet. It's crazy. Um, People obviously will want to reference the games they played so far, and I understand like you can only like you have to take the opponents that they played into context. Um, but the reality is because they played like teams like what Ipswich, obviously the first game and they won, and Brentford at home. Brentford is like I know they gave City a fight, but they're not that good of a team. Um, but they did go and smash United though. They did go and smash United at Old Trafford. That was a very good result. I know United had lost the previous week to Brighton, but they still like made decent signings in the summer that I would have expected a much better fight from United, given how well they fought with Liverpool last season in all three games they played them. So that was a good dismantling, and then they went away in the Champions League against Milan. Milan, not a shit Milan, a Milan that just recently beat Inter Milan, the champions of Italy, and they smashed them 3-1. Even though they were 1-0 down, they came back and freaking smashed the hell out of them. So um, yeah, look, I think they're a fantastic team. I think they're a very, very good team. Um, it'll be interesting to see how their next few fixtures go, because when you look at their fixtures, they've got Liverpool, West Ham tomorrow in the League Cup. I don't give a shit about that. They win or lose, I'm not gonna. I don't think it plays any factor in how their season is gonna go. They've got Wolves away, which they should win comfortably. This is not Wolves from a few years ago. Um, they got Bologna in the Champions League at Anfield. They should win that. But then after that, they've got Crystal Palace away, a difficult game, a game that they narrowly won last season at Selhurst Park, and they lost to them at Anfield. They got Chelsea at Anfield, but regardless, Liverpool Chelsea could be a feisty game. They've got Leipzig away in the Champions League, could be difficult, and they've got Arsenal away after that. And then, by the way, it doesn't even get easier. After that, they play Brighton at home, a team that always gives them trouble. And then they play Leverkusen at Anfield in the Champions League. Again, a very difficult game. And then they play Aston Villa at Anfield. Again, a team that could potentially give them issues. And then they face Southampton, and then Real Madrid, and then Man City. So they have some difficult fixtures coming up. So up until the Southampton game, which comes after Aston Villa, which is basically 24th November, if they are top of the league by then, or 1 or 2 points behind the league leaders, I think they are definitely a threat, and everyone needs to worry about them. But if by the end of the Southampton game, 24th November, after they finished Arsenal, after they finished Brighton, after they finished Aston Villa and Chelsea and Crystal Palace, if they are 5, 6, 7 points away from the top, then fair enough. I'll say, you know what? I think I was wrong. They might not necessarily be that team, because it doesn't get easier after that, because they play Real Madrid at home, they play Man City, they play Newcastle away, so it doesn't get easier, obviously. Um, but up until Southampton, I think they should be able to. I think they will lose to us, in my opinion, because it's at the Emirates. But that shouldn't really matter. Even if they do lose to us at the Emirates, every other game in the Premier League they should be able to win. I definitely back them to beat Wolves. 100% back them to beat Chelsea at Anfield. Crystal Palace, I think, will be difficult, but I think they can beat. I think they will win against Crystal Palace. Um, so yeah, then it just comes to the game at Arsenal. And hey, if they lose that game, it's honestly no shame because they are playing the second strongest team over the last 2 seasons and at the Emirates, so it won't be easy. But I definitely don't think they'll make it easy for us. I think they'll definitely give us a very very good game. And then they should definitely, in my opinion, yes, Brighton is tricky for them, but it's at Anfield again, so they should be able to beat Brighton. So yeah, look, it'll be interesting. It'll be very very interesting. I can't wait to see how things go. But yeah, look, that's these are the three teams for me. I know Chelsea have been doing well. I know they've got like 10 out of 15 points. They only lost one game and drew the other against Crystal Palace, but I still don't think they're ready. I like what Maresca's doing. I like the fact that they've got like the West Ham win was comfy. The Wolves game was comfy. Obviously, they got that late winner against Bournemouth, but it doesn't really matter. Bournemouth were playing better than them, and they missed a penalty in the first half. And Chelsea still had the mentality to win. That's a game that they probably would have lost last season just because they would have switched off or they would have mentally been defeated before the game even ended. Um, so I will definitely give props to Chelsea for that, but I don't think they'll have the material. I don't think they'll have the quality of players, and it's since it's Maresca's first season. I don't think things will gel that well for them to challenge for the league. I think they can definitely finish top four, 100%. They should challenge for top four. It'll be, in my opinion, it's failure if they don't challenge for top four. Some might even say it's a failure if they don't get it at all. But for me, if they challenge and they just miss out, I would still look at it as progression over what they did last season. Um, but yeah, I definitely don't think they'll challenge. These are the three teams I think that'll challenge: Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City. And I think just like last season, Arsenal and City will take it till the very end. Um, I hope not. I hope Arsenal go flying solo till the end, and City are far away and behind us. But obviously, um, that's just wishful thinking. City will never let you win the league that easy ever. Um, but yeah, look, that's my prediction. Those are the thing. I still think Arsenal will win the league. I'm going to say it. I think Arsenal will win. City will finish second. Liverpool come third. That's my prediction of the top three. Um, I hope that it does pan out that way. Um, and yeah, it should be hopefully a very very exciting race. Should be a very exciting race. But yeah, look, that's it, guys, for today's video. So please like and subscribe and share the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. If you guys think Liverpool don't have the quality to go all the way, if maybe you think Arsenal are not good enough to maybe push City again like they did the last 2 seasons, or maybe you think City might finish third. I don't know. Who knows? Sounds crazy to even say, but like, hey, if somehow Liverpool and Arsenal um get their shit together. I'm not even get their shit together, but somehow Liverpool and Arsenal just like hustle and push through till the very end. You never know. You never know. But I don't see that happening, to be honest. I think they'll finish second. City at worst they'll finish second if they don't win the league. But I predict us to win the league. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Like and subscribe and share the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.